Hey, Bill, good morning to you.
Hey, Markie, thanks for having me.
So as President Trump defends employing Elon Musk, you're pressing the point that this type of role really is not new historically. You know, I watched your No Spin News episode last night. You said FDR and JFK did the exact same thing.
That's right, and you're much smarter for watching the No Spin News this morning than you were before you watched it last night, so I'm very pleased to hear that. If you know anything about history, and that lets out 90% of all pundits on television, you know that Franklin Roosevelt did exactly the same thing that President Trump is doing now. There was no difference. Now, I don't know. I never spoke to President Trump about this, whether Trump adopted that or it's just a coincidence.
Meaning they did the same thing as in they also had an advisor that was the wealthiest person in the world come in? Or what do you mean they did the same thing?
FDR brought in Harry Hopkins and a whole bunch of guys from Columbia University and Harvard to be advisors to him. They were not elected. They were not appointed by the Senate. And Hopkins himself actually moved in and lived in the White House for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay? And FDR leaned on these guys for advice about the Depression, first of all, because it began in 1933. That's when he brought in Hopkins. And then when World War II broke out, they shifted into war mode. And JFK did the same thing with Dave Powers and Kenny O'Donnell. They were Boston guys. He brings the Boston guys up after he's elected in 1960, and they're not confirmed, and they advise him about everything.
And did they also have this kind of like worldwide power that Elon Musk seems to wield? Or were they different in that respect?
What power are we talking about, Markie?
Being the wealthiest man in the world, you know, owning X. I mean, he has a lot of influence. Starlink. I mean, he's got a platform. I'm just curious if Hopkins, Powers, et cetera, had the same kind of platforms that Elon Musk does right now.
They were industrialist, wealthy people. But I'm an American citizen, all right? I don't know of any power Elon Musk has over me. And as you just reported on NewsNation, a very liberal judge in D.C. said, look, if President Trump wants to appoint somebody to oversee a reform of government spending, he has a constitutional right to do it. Now, if Elon Musk goes in, excuse me, to the IRS and starts pulling out my tax returns and yours, Markie, and waving them around, okay, then I'm gonna come down. But right now, this is all innuendo. This is just crazy stuff. And I don't want to cut your interview up, but I want to get into more crazy stuff. So last night, I'm watching, you know, I flip around. This is how boring I am.
Yeah, channel surf.
On the television stations to get to what they're reporting so I can report in the morning. And all of a sudden I hear hysteria, and that word literally, I'm using it. Trump says Ukraine started the war with Russia. And I go, what? So I look at the transcript. I got it right in front of me about what Trump said in his little press conference. And he didn't say anything like that. He said that Ukraine should have made a deal because there was a deal on the table. And I have a transcript of the deal from the BBC. And Putin made 4 demands. Now, if I were Zelensky, I don't know what I would have done. Okay, because the demands were you can't join NATO, you have to recognize Crimea as Russia, on and on and on and on, okay? And the demands were from an unreasonable tyrant, which is what Putin is. But Trump is saying that if he had been president, he would have worked out a deal and there would have been no Ukraine war. That's not the same as saying Ukraine started the war.
And Bill,
I am furious that the state of American journalism is so corrupt that this kind of stuff happens. I sound like Bobby Kennedy here. This kind of stuff happens every single day.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.